Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Humanhood series brought to you by Casey Riley and
Melanie Peralta.
And today we are definitely hitting on that, both humanizing the human experience and making personal development more personal.
Yeah.
You know, Melanie and I have been chatting frequently over the past couple of weeks about things that have really been weighing on us as leaders in this industry and like things that we're noticing. And we just felt really inspired to talk about just the quality of leadership in the personal development space and what that means for anyone who is learning from these leaders and these educators with so much information out there. How do we discern who we learn from?
Right.
And so today we are jumping into all things leadership. And it's just very relevant as well because I feel like the personal development space kind of had this little like shake up recently.
No, it wasn't a little shake up. It's a huge uproar right now.
It's a huge uproar.
Yeah.
And we think it's just very relevant to the topic at hand.
Totally. Well, another thing too is our industry is shifting dramatically, especially in the online space because people's needs are changing. And our industry is evolving to the point where things that once worked don't work anymore, you know? And so it's requiring everybody to step into a different level of expression in order to connect. But also, by a certain point, a lot of people in our industry have established identities, brands, established reputations. So there's a lot of nuances that come into play when you're looking at entrepreneurs, teachers, healers, leaders in this space and seeing them for who they are as professionals, but then also seeing them for who they are as humans and being able to honor both of those, even if you don't agree with it, even if you don't rock with it, even if you don't vibe with it, even if it's feeling shifty for you, because I have personally experienced me absolutely being I would just say obsessed, healthily obsessed over a certain coach. And then over time, they have shifted and evolved dramatically to the point where I no longer vibe with them.
Yeah, I have felt that way too.
Yeah.
I know I've shared this on previous episodes where I've unfollowed a bunch of celebrities. I unfollowed almost every educator and authoritative figure as well, just because I felt this. Yeah, a lot of people are shifting, which is totally okay to shift your identity and your focus in this space. But for me, it was when I started to feel like something feels off here, and it's not your messaging, because I can get down with anyone's messaging. I'm like, okay, I can see it for what it is and like not hold any judgment. But when there's an unaligned within your spirit, within who you are as a human, now I have to back away.
Right.
Because that is what feels disconnected to me.
Right. Which is a very natural, normal human thing, because even though we're not in direct relationship with these people, we're still in a relationship of some sort. And it's the same thing that happens in other relationships. Yeah. You guys grow apart. You're no longer the same. You get out of vibrational alignment with each other and you move on. Mm-hmm. So it's a natural, normal thing. You just like music too. Like you evolve with what you listen to and who you listen to and what artists grab your attention, because we're always in our own seasons and things like that, you know? Mm-hmm. So like Casey said, it's about knowing who to listen to, who's right for you. And like we always talk about in this series is knowing who you are and having a solid sense of self to say, okay, this person was once for me and now they're not. Mm-hmm. And what is for me and why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can always go back as well, because I remember I used to love Gary Vaynerchuk back in the day when he was super intense, and I was like just getting into this world like 10 years ago, and I was like riding with his message so hard.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you're kind of angry, and like I don't really like how you're just like shooting the shit all the time and being so aggressive, so I unfollowed him. And then years later, I'm like, I like you again.
Like you again.
You know,
so it's a lot of times, no, probably all the time, it's it's a direct reflection of you.
Yeah.
It always is.
Yeah.
Just like in real life, who you kick it with, who you surround yourself with, that's a reflection of you. So the leaders and the people that you gravitate towards in the personal development industry, in some way, shape, or form, they're reflecting something inside of you, that's what you're feeling drawn to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to dive into just from a leadership perspective, as somebody who is in a leadership role, I kind of want to just dive into painting a behind the scenes picture of what it can look like for leadership when we are managing our professional lives online with this brand and things like that. But then we're also managing our personal lives, because for me, I can see the space that I've been in as a coach. And at one point I was just going really hard. And I was like front and center, all these offerings, coaching programs, on stages. I was just like hitting it hard pretty consistently. And then I was just in a different season of my last relationship, and that required so much of me. On top of, honestly, I was just really unhappy and very unfulfilled and started to even get depressed. So then that reflected in my leadership, but it didn't change the way that I led. It just stopped me from leading as much. Because for me personally, I would so much rather pull back and not put out an offering if I know that the quality of what I'm going to be delivering could be tarnished by what I'm currently experiencing. That's me staying in integrity. You know, that's me staying in energetic brand alignment, so that anytime you come to something that I'm doing, the quality standard is always going to be set to a certain thing. So I know that if I have things going on in my personal world that I'm like, I know I can't show up as this, then I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to prioritize my state of being, which is what I did, because after my last relationship ended and I was devastated, I was the most heartbroken I had ever been in my entire life, I stopped one-on-one coaching. I pulled back in so many ways just so I could heal and get whole again, so that when I did step back fully into service, it was from my personal standard that I have set for my name and my brand, you know? And so it's like maintaining the human and maintaining the brand and the business and all of those things. Because if I would have not decided to make that choice and I would have still been coaching women throughout that time, I would have felt like I was fully out of integrity. Because I'm like, here I am coaching you and I'm fucking depressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people do that in our industry.
Yeah.
And I understand that, like, when you are a master at something, you can remove yourself from your state of being fully and pour into other people. And I know people, I've done it. I've done it before. When I was working for Tony and Dean, literally one time, here I am about to go on stage, well, the virtual stage, and coach thousands of people all over the world. And 10 minutes before that happened, my ex broke up with me. Bro, I was fucked up. I was so fucked. But I had to get it together and still go out there and do what I needed to do.
Yeah, I've had scenarios like that too, where I'm about to teach on something and I get this like crazy news, and it's like your body just knows, all right, adrenaline, get me through this.
Yes.
And then we can figure this out later.
Yes.
But that's interesting that you said that, because I do agree that our energetic hygiene needs to come first, our integrity, our alignment. But also, like, a lot of people don't have the choice to pull back on certain
like
things.
financially?
Yeah, financially. Okay. You know, whether they are a leader and they run their own business, or especially if they work for somebody else.
Right.
It's like
right.
they can't just take the time to go into their process.
Totally.
And so I think it's important just to highlight that
Yeah.
because you were blessed enough to take some of that time off.
Yeah, for sure.
But not everyone has that. But it's interesting because when I went through like my hardship last year with like just my mental health and everything, I did pull back to take care of myself, but it was also showing up monthly for the community and keep doing it that kept me anchor in my why and kept me going.
Right.
Because if I would have pulled back entirely, I think that would have wrecked me more than taking the time off to solely take care of myself.
Right.
And so for me, that was an anchor point. And for me, that was my takeaway from that, like pushing through and not letting fear and beliefs take you down.
Totally.
You know, so there's just so much duality into everyone's relationship with that.
There definitely is, because actually I wasn't doing one-on-one coaching and like holding space for other people's, problems essentially. But what I did instead was I started doing fun, playful events.
Yeah.
That's when I did a dose of bliss.
Yeah.
And, so it's like I just transformed my creations. A lot of times, majority of my creations are inspired by what I'm going through in my life, because I'm like, well, I know I'm not the only one who feels this way or who needs this thing. So I create from that space a lot. But yeah, you're right. Everybody's process is different. But I think the most important thing is just knowing, really, when you're making that choice, knowing the quality of what you're bringing is still really quality.
Yeah.
Because I've been on the other end of certain clients that worked with somebody and they were like, I went to my coach and I felt like I was not really served. And then come to find out later on, the coach was like battling alcohol addiction or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's about like really being honest with yourself about what your real capacity is to truly serve at a high level, at a quality level, to where your people feel served.
Yes.
And not just like, oh, I got my hour of coaching or I got my whatever. You know
and
what
I think depending like what you're moving through also, because one thing I have seen in this leadership space is people who I have looked up to and admired, they like some crazy like cheating scandal has come out. And I'm like, listen, your personal life is your personal life. But if you are putting out a message on relationship coaching and then you just got busted cheating, now I have an issue with you and your integrity.
Totally.
You cannot coach other people on something that you are verbatim not living at all.
Yeah.
So it's one thing for someone to be like moving through a process and maybe showing up a little less fully, but when you're living a lie and then selling people on that lie, that to me is where I start to have an issue.
Yes.
And I'm like, I can't, I'm being judgy, but I can't get over that because you just lied.
Yeah. Discernment's important, man. And I think, I remember back when there was all of that stuff going on with Nako Bear, the singer. He's this conscious musician.
Okay.
Yeah. Very spiritual, popular in our world type of music. And then like later on it came out that he was like just kind of a womanizer and sleeping with a bunch of women on tour and stuff like that. And it was just this whole thing. Everyone was like, what the fuck, Nako? Like, this isn't who we thought you were.
Right.
Right. And that's when it comes to the putting people on a pedestal and forgetting that, yes, this person is capable of creating all of these high vibrational conscious music and showing up as this person, but also people have their demons.
Yeah.
People have their shadow sides and people have their things. And what I say a lot of times is like, majority of the people who end up in this space, they got in this space because they had to work.
Issues.
They got fucking problems.
Yeah.
Like they had to work through their own things.
Yeah.
And so it's not entirely realistic that those things may never arise again, and I personally don't think it's really fair to not allow for error. Obviously, the degree of error matters.
Yeah.
But I think, we all are human. Shit's not going to be okay. Listen, I remember when I was working for Tony and Dean. First of all, I could be a crazy ass bitch. Okay, if you've been listening, like, I come from the hood. I come from some shit. Yeah. All right. So I have this like side of me. I do. Like, don't play with her. And I remember this moment where I had what felt like such a drawback in who I am, especially with the where I was at the time. It was like, I think it was like the first year that I was working for Tony and Dean. Maybe I had been like a year and a half in or something like that. And I went to Thanksgiving with my mom's family, and I think it was Thanksgiving. Maybe, I don't know. I think it was Thanksgiving. Yes, it was Thanksgiving. I went to Thanksgiving with my mom's family, and we all got really drunk off tequila, because everyone just drinks tequila all night. And my mom was like getting mad at her husband and like yelling at him for something. And I was telling her, Ma, it's fine. Like, chill. That's not what he was doing. And she just like started to pop off. And I'm like trying to calm her down, and she starts screaming at me in my face. And the old me just fucking activated, and I fucking swung on her, bitch. I swung on my mama. Next thing you know, me and my mama are fucking, my uncle's like, oh shit, he runs and he pulls us apart, and it's like this whole thing. Yeah, like I swung on her because she got up in my face in a certain type of way. My mother. And then like on Monday, I'm like in the conference room. And
like, okay, guys.
I felt so much shame.
Oh my gosh. That's a wild story.
I know. But it's like, do I sit here and say, oh my God, I'm not this coach, I'm not this person, here I am. And I'm like, no, you are this, and you were that.
Yes.
And it came through, bitch.
And I hear that, and it's like, yes, we all have our human moments. But for me, if I were to have an issue, it would be like if you got up there on Monday and we're like, okay, here's how to heal with your family. I'd be like, clearly you're not healed. Totally. You are not being honest and in integrity with your message because you just swung on your mom. So I'm like, yes, I give you all the grace to go through the human stuff. Yeah. For me, it's okay, but what message are you teaching and are you preaching? Because there's even leaders out there who are so, health conscious, and they're like, your body is your temple. And then they're literally doing drugs at their own conferences and retreats. And again, like, I don't care. Go do the drugs, but don't sit here and say you need to just nourish your body and honor yourself while you are taking a break and doing blow in the bathroom.
Totally.
That's not in alignment. You are lying.
Yeah.
I would rather you come out and tell me.
Yeah.
Like, guys, I just did this, but at least you're honest.
Yeah.
I just don't like the dishonesty in the teaching.
Totally.
I'm all for giving everyone grace to make their mistakes.
Yeah. And I think, when those things do happen and they come out in the public eye, like with the Nako situation, how people handle it and how they take accountability and how they move through it, that also speaks volumes as well.
But also, like, when people have some scandal and then they just post their apology video, that irks me.
Well, what else are they supposed to do?
Well, when they're just doing it. What happened with Joe Rogan a couple of years ago? Something happened.
He was, like, saying the N-word a lot. He goes, like...
Old videos came up. It was super old videos.
Yeah.
And then he was like, guys. And I'm just like, he didn't want to put that video out. It was so inauthentic to the Joe Rogan way. And you just see through it. It's like, Joe, just apologize and, confront it in your way.
Right.
Don't put out the standard video that everyone has to do.
Yeah, well, that's a thing, right? Because like society and culture, it is a certain way.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes as much as people don't want to do shit in a certain type of way, it's like, well, fuck.
I do it.
This is what society and culture needs to hear based off of, you know, how sensitive people are in these specific things. And so even if I don't really want to do it like this is kind of what has to happen right now.
Speaking of like sensitivity and how sensitized the world has gotten these days, what are your thoughts just on that in general? Because you know how they don't make movies like they used to make them anymore? This is being like so PC, politically correct all of the time, because that's where we're moving as a collective.
I think that it fuels a lack of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Because if you are constantly triggered by a fucking word, you don't have enough emotional intelligence. You just don't. Like, I think it is making people so fragile. And like back then, dude, like one time I got into a huge argument with somebody in my family.
Did you punch someone else?
No, not this time.
Who'd you punch this time?
That was under the influence of tequila, okay? So, like, that was different. I was completely sober in this other situation. Normally, I don't get that confrontational, but...
You know, sometimes when I would do stuff when I was drinking, I could blame it on the alcohol, but then sometimes I would do stuff, the same stuff when I wasn't drinking, and I'm like, that's just you.
Yeah, that's just you.
I have to live with the fact that that's just how I am.
Yeah. Well, no, I did not swing on this person. But somebody got really upset. They were yelling at me like across the table about they felt like I was being insensitive when it came to pronouns, just because I was like, whatever, dude. And I was like, when I was growing up, I'm Mexican, full Mexican. My mom's side's Mexican, my dad's side's Mexican. I just look like a white guy. I'm a güera. You know, my mom and both of my nanas, they both are güeras. All three of them are güeras. Light skin, green, blue eyes. That's just the family that I come from. So that's how I look white. And growing up, everybody always called me a white girl.
They called me güerita.
Yeah.
I was a white one too.
Not even güerita, just people called me white. And I'm like, my whole life, people always called me white. And I was actually Mexican. I was actually Mexican. Not just I wanted to be called a Mexican. I was actually one. And like, yeah, sure, I didn't love it, but nobody was fighting for me to be called a fucking Mexican, even though that's what I really was.
I see where you're going.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody was like, hey, you need to make sure that you don't call Melanie white. She's Mexican. No.
Yeah.
But I'm like, to fight, to sit here and make everybody call someone something that they're not. I'm like, dude, back then I didn't love it, but I didn't give a shit. And there wasn't this whole cultural thing around you have to call somebody exactly what they are or what they want to be called. And it was like, bro, you know, that's how I feel about it. I feel like it is making people sensitive. Yes, we need to be mindful with our words.
Yes.
We do. 1,000%. And the sensitivity's ridiculous.
The sensitivity's out of control.
It's getting ridiculous. Yeah. It's like, dude, come on.
Yeah, we went to a comedy show the other day, and I was just so curious, like how, because comedians are notorious.
Yes.
For just going off the rails.
Honestly, they have it good.
I know, because they can get away with it. They just go up there and they're like, we don't give a fuck. And usually people who go to those shows are like laughing along with it. Yeah. And so I was just curious.
Comedy is the one place where it's like still accepted.
Yes, but sometimes they do teeter it. I'm like, I can be pretty crazy sometimes with what I say, but that was pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, you're like, you're not allowed to say that anymore.
Yeah, I'm like, I think that's a little too far. But yeah.
There's so many times when I watch old movies and I'm like, damn, they would never.
White chicks.
Yeah, I'm like, they would never be able to do that anymore.
No, then they're making a new White Chicks.
Are they?
Yes, they're coming out with a new one. So I'm like, what is this going to look like?
Oh, it's going to be so politically correct. It's going to be lame.
It's going to be awful, but we're going to watch it anyways. But yeah, the sensitivity, people becoming super fragile, we do need to have that just emotional resilience and intelligence to withstand some jokes. And if you don't like the joke, don't get offended. Everyone's offended.
Yeah.
Everyone's always offended. And I'm just like, it's hard.
It's exhausting for those people too.
It's literally exhausting.
To constantly be offended and to constantly be fighting for whatever you're offended over.
Yes. It's a distraction.
Yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, it really takes a lot to offend me.
Yeah.
It does. It takes a lot to offend me. It takes a lot to really trigger me. Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of things you can say, and I'm like, wow.
I don't get offended that easily either.
Yeah, no, you don't.
I'm just like, that's you.
Yeah, totally.
That's okay, whatever.
Totally. So one of the things that we were chatting about at your house was, when it comes to quality of leadership, was character development.
Yes.
Dude, huge. Yeah. That's been a big thing at the forefront of my awareness. Is I see a lot of really successful people in our industry. And when I say successful, I mean like financially successful, brand successful, business successful. They have big followings and a lot of influence and things like that. But what I'm seeing behind the scenes and everything, all this shit's all usually behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
Is successful people who lack quality character. And I'm like, dang, dude, I really respect what you're doing, but I don't love how you're doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that is something that needs to be back into the forefront of our industry and needs to be a priority for the leaders, teachers, healers, coaches, especially the aspiring people who are wanting to get in this industry. There's so much distortion in this industry. There's so much manipulation. There's so much pressure to show up in a certain way and all these things. And it can get to you. Yeah. It can distort you. And it can knock you off of your value system. If you haven't anchored in your character, you can start to shape shift to this industry just to attain success. You could be fronting hard, really faking it to try to make it.
Yeah. And people can put on those shows very well.
Yes, they can. And again, it works for some people. But at the end of the day, the human experience is about figuring out and learning who the fuck you are and being really fulfilled in that. And if you're over here creating illusions, then like it's a fallacy, bro. It's not solid, you know. It's not a foundation that you can really stand on and peacefully sleep at night. I mean, I know there's some people out there that are like so disconnected.
Clueless.
They can sleep at night and they just did
They're sleeping fine.
They're sleeping fine. Yeah, but for the people who are stepping into this industry and you truly have a heart for service, you're truly dedicated to making sure that this industry fulfills its purpose, because the intention of the personal development and entrepreneurial industry really is to just better people and the quality of life. Yeah. That's really what it's all about. But a lot of that is getting lost in the social media and the pressure and the image and
the ego, the facade, all of that.
Yes.
I've seen people get sucked into that as well. It's like, you want to know if you're a good leader, what's your turnover rate?
Right. That's key right there.
Yeah. Look at your employees. How do your employees think about you? How does your family think about you? Because you can put on this forward-facing act. Like, we all can turn it on and say whatever I want up here. But if you hate doing this podcast with me because I'm a bitch and I like am flaky and I'm not whatever, I'm not living that. My character isn't developed. Right. And that's what I see a lot of. And that was honestly why I was so excited to start like my own business, was because I wanted to be the leader that I didn't have. I wanted to be the leader who did communicate well, the leader who did do these things. And that's hard. It's hard to like do everything right, especially when you have like a team like working with you or for you on something. It's like, it's not just about me. Right. I need to keep people updated. We need to communicate. I need to consider your feelings. Like, you have to put all of these people pretty much ahead of you to be a good leader. Yes. And that's hard to do. And I understand why people don't do it, because it's easier just to go on your merry way and make decisions. It's like, wait a second, I didn't fill that person in. I didn't tell them what was going on. And now they feel blindsided or left out or whatever it is. And so there's so many nuances that come to the leadership world, not only as leaders, how we are in the personal development space, but leaders just in businesses in general, and managers and all of these people who are responsible for all these employees.
Yes.
Like, how well is your communication?
Yeah, it all goes back to self, right?
Yeah.
It all goes back to your personal development. So like that right there is the money. Everyone's trying to learn business. Everyone's trying to learn strategy. Everyone's focusing on online branding, creating your course and creating your digital product and all of that. And then they're doing a beautiful job at that. But then the way that they're running things is shit.
Yeah.
Or the way that they're managing their own personal life is shit. The relationship that they have with their friends or their family or their children or their spouse or whatever is shit. And so it's like, let me get anchored in my own self. Let me solidify my qualities and characteristics and allow those things to carry over so that that is felt in everything that I do. And then when I work on this thing with people, because what happens in our world is people collab, they work together or they create something together, and then you see the behind the scenes of how people move and how people do shit.
Yes.
And then people are talking. It's like, oh, well, I thought so and so was like this, but then I worked with them and it was like this.
Yeah.
And then it's like that's what happens
Yes.
in this industry. Even if it's like, oh, well, I went to this retreat and then the facilitator was like a mess, but online it looked so great.
Yes.
Or, you know,
I see that all the time because I do go into a lot of retreats to facilitate breath work. And sometimes it's like, yeah, you see this persona online. And then I'm like, okay, that's all I'm going to say.
yeah, it's like.
And then sometimes you're like, wow, you're even better than I could have even imagined.
Yes.
You know? And
yes.
that's always such a pleasant surprise, too.
Oh, my gosh. That right there, that's it. That's it right there. I had a conversation with even Sam. When you see people online and you love who they are, and then they got this presence, they got this brand, they show up in a certain way, and then you meet them in person and you're like underwhelmed.
So underwhelmed.
You're like, oh, you're so not who you are online.
Yeah.
Opposed to when you meet people and you were like, you are everything you are online and more.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
You know?
But also the pressure that comes with that.
Yeah.
Because, like, I would say you and I are pretty much the same, online and offline. But do you ever feel like, let's say you're at retreat or you're hosting a movie mantra event or something where you're in front of a bunch of people, do you ever feel like you have to turn it on even more?
No, and the reason for that is because I've intentionally created a personal brand that is very human.
Yeah.
And when I'm at retreat and I'm saying, listen, bitches, I just went through a fucking devastating breakup. I'm about to bawl my eyes out in breathwork right now. I'm going to wail louder than all of you guys. So just be prepared. Or at the end of retreat, when we went around and everyone's sharing their greatest takeaways and it's all fucking lovely and beautiful, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I did not want to do this. This was so hard. This was the hardest year of my life, you know?
Okay, but I don't mean with the honesty. I mean with how your interactions with people. So I'll give you an example. For me, I do think I'm the same person on and offline, but when I'm hosting a session and there's all these people there, I do feel like I want to be even more like loving and gracious when I speak to everyone like one-on-one. Like I never want anyone to see me as like, oh, she like didn't give me the attention I deserved, or like she kind of looked at me weird. Like I'm always extra like making sure that this person feels so loved and seen.
Yeah.
And so like, of course you're not gonna like not taking away your humanness from the experience, but do you ever feel like you have to just be that little more on?
Yeah, I think so, but that's kind of that's the nature of service, right?
Yeah.
There's like an activation mode that you step into.
Yes.
It's not like we're just here kicking it.
Yeah.
It's I'm here holding a very sacred space for you, and I'm going to show up in the essence and vibration and energy that I need to make sure that the frequency of this environment is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, to a degree, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that perspective, because sometimes it's like, no, you're right. It's just like what needs to be done in this.
Totally.
Like people are here to experience this, and like it's our job to take it up a notch and hold it fully.
Yes.
In that way, in all capacity.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, diving a little bit deeper into the topic of when, the personal blends with the professional, because I see that you get to a certain point in your business and your brand and your career and reputation where people have paid attention for so long that you feel like you need to fill them in on certain things. Like for me, for example, me no longer working with Tony and Dean and not renewing my contract with them, I'm like, I could have just done that silently and not talked about it, but it's been such a huge part of my career and my coach reputation for 5 years that for me to just cut that off and not talk about it felt weird, especially after being in this space for so long.
Yeah.
Maybe when you're in the beginning and you're like doing something simple, you don't feel like you have to make those types of announcements, but diving into something that has come up in our industry, the Aubrey Marcus thing, that has been such a huge uproar.
An uproar.
Yeah.
People are bothered.
They're bothered. And we can dive into like the details of why people are bothered, and I want to know what you think about it.
Yeah.
But I think the grand scheme of things, I feel like that was a way to inform the world of what's going on with them, because they are to a point where they can't hide it anymore.
Right.
And they probably don't want to hide it, and they just want to be open with it. But, they turned it into this podcast that was like this love revolution and la la la. But it's like, sure, yeah, love revolution for the collective. But ultimately, bro, it's been an evolution in your life. It's been an evolution in your marriage and in your world. And this is your way of informing us that now there's somebody else.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
But the only reason why you felt like you had to do that is because technically you do have to do that. Now that you're so big and everybody's watching and everybody already sees, it's like, okay, well, we have to come out and say this thing. Once you have a certain platform and reputation, especially his, it's like, okay, we have to come out and tell the world this, but let's do it like this.
Yeah. It's an uproar. I've seen some hysterical memes and stuff about it.
Have you?
Yes, I need to send you some. They're funny. First off, what I will say is I will give them kudos for being
vulnerable
honest.
And open like that. Yeah.
Because that is not some things I'm like, I don't want to share.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage and balls to do something like that. So I do respect them for that. But my whole thing with all of this is I've talked about this so many times on these episodes, the discernment and the suggestibility. There is so many people looking up to these figures to learn from. They're inspired by. I do think a lot of people put these people on pedestals, but that's the nature of being a leader and a public figure, especially on social media. And I am all for you don't have to inform anyone of anything. I fully embrace that. And I do believe that there comes a level of responsibility when you have a platform and influence. You can't just be freeballing everything you say under the identity of, I don't give a fuck, or this is who I am. I've always been wild and crazy. It's you have a responsibility to somewhat show up responsibly for people. And maybe their eyes, this was the responsible thing.
I think that they think they were showing up responsibly.
I'm really holding back because I don't want to
say it, Casey.
I know, just because it's I can be so understanding of people. But I used to follow his stuff back years ago, and then something started to feel off, just like how Gary Vaynerchuk did. I was like, I'm not aligning with this, so I unfollowed. But I can pick up patterns and people and things, and I just see patterns within that community where it's always being checked out on plant medicines and always leaning on this this knowing from this higher plant medicine power, which I like plant medicines. I've done them myself.
Yeah.
You know, but someone who leans on that so much and who leans on this identity of like, I don't even know what it is when I see him, but he just feels irresponsible with his teachings. That's what it feels like, because it's constantly changing, which again, we want to leave room for people to change and evolve. So that's what I understand. But the level of responsibility that comes with it, just be more mindful of the changes and how quickly you announce them. Like, make sure you're really settled into that, because you are just confusing all of these people. And I remember when he was going super hard on the, what is it, what's that word called? Polyamory, like years ago. And like people were literally changing their whole dynamics because they thought that like he's doing it the right way.
This is liberating.
And it's like, maybe for them, but not for you. So if you're super suggestible, it just fucks with people.
Yeah.
And so again, that's a lot of responsibility to put on someone, right?
Totally, because at the end of the day, everybody's grown and you make your own decisions.
Yes.
And stop being so easily influenced.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's a lot of responsibility like to put on the figure, because that's not fair. But then there's so many people out there that like don't have any responsibility over their decisions, and it's just like, everyone learn discernment.
Yes.
Like, please.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know.
1000%. At the end of the day, do you, boo? If that's what you guys want to do.
Round of applause.
Round of applause. But just, you're right. There's a deception and illusion, and even, okay, so for those of you who guys don't know what the fuck we're talking about, quick little synopsis. In the personal development, entrepreneurial, spiritual consciousness, community, a large figure, Aubrey Marcus, and his wife, Vailana, created a podcast recently where they have introduced that there's a woman in their dynamic now. And they started off poly with each other. Then they went hardcore into monogamy and was like really going for monogamy, saying like monogamy was the way and all this stuff. And now that has apparently shifted. And now they have this 28-year-old who they're in like their 40s. Now they have this 28-year-old in their dynamic, and they just introduced her to the world saying, hey, we're not practicing polygamy. We're not practicing monogamy. We are practicing radical monogamy with a hint of erotic mysticism. Erotic mysticism is what they called it, bro. I'm like, listen, you just want to fuck young chicks, dude.
Yeah.
It's fine. You want your cake and you want to have it too, and your wife is down. It's all good.
Right. Just own it. Just
own
that.
it and just say what it is, and stop trying to turn it into this thing.
Conscious concept.
With all the language that you're using. And I can tell that in the reality that they live in, with the beliefs that they have and the spiritual practices and the medicine practices that they have, I can sense that is so real. That is their truth. Like the way that they're expressing it, I can tell that they have worked their way into the beliefs that this is my truth, and this is it for me. Like, we all live in our own delusions or our own realities, because he really does believe that Isis spoke to him in the Egyptian temple and told him to have babies with the girl and his wife. Like, he truly believes that. And his wife really believes that that's what happened for him, which is why she accepted it. Which sounds crazy. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out,
Yeah. You're right. They really, really believe.
They really believe it. Otherwise, do you think the wife would have just accepted that if he didn't frame it like, Isis spoke to me in the Egyptian temple and I've been wrestling with this. It's not my choice. But it's like, listen, I actually have deeply fallen in love with both of you guys. And
yes.
I want to have children with both of you. Just
say that.
Yeah.
Just say that. And I think that's where it goes to the spiritual community gets a really bad rap because we throw all these spiritual terms and da-da-da-da-da, and blame all of our decisions on ayahuasca told me to do this and the mushroom told me that. And it's like, actually, that's just in your subconscious.
Yes.
And just own that you want to live this way, or this is your decision, or whatever it is.
Yes.
Versus throwing the kitchen sink in the spiritual world, and now it just sounds like weird.
Yeah. And a part of that journey for me personally is I'm a spiritual person. I wouldn't say I ever got too deep in a lot of the spiritual, woo-woo things. Yes, I would like pull cards and, stuff like that. But I remember getting to a point in my journey where it was clear to me, the message that I got was just like, stop seeking answers outside of yourself.
Yes.
Stop. I was going to like a metaphysical church at the time, and I was sitting in this group, and you'd sit in the circle and everybody would like feel into your energy, and then they would like share things with you or whatever, you know? And so I got to a point where I was like, I need to strengthen my relationship with my own inner knowing.
Yes.
My own relationship with God, what God is telling me directly.
Yeah.
And not because of all these signs outside of myself or this constant external validation. So I remember getting to the point where I was like, I'm not pulling cards. I'm not going to this thing. I'm strengthening the relationship with my own discernment and my own intuition and my own inner knowing, so that I'm not out here being fucking pulled in every direction when it's like, oh, this crazy synchronicity happened.
Yes. Yes. I never got sucked into that stuff.
Yeah.
I've always remained really detached from external things. Like if someone pulls a card, I'm like, cool, that's a cute bear.
Right.
Like,
right.
cool.
Right.
Like I have no attachment to any of that. The crystals, any of that. Never really. I'm just like, it's just me.
Yeah.
Like even when it comes to seeking out support, like if I reach out to someone for like a coaching session or anything, I always try to self-source as much as I can in a healthy way. Not that I don't want to ask for help, but it's let me really tap into my inner knowing first.
Yeah.
And if I'm really stuck, now I'm going to seek out support because I just can't stay stuck here.
Totally.
And so I love that message of like strengthening your own connection to your God and yourself, and to be able to strengthen your discernment.
Right.
Because then when you see something like this, you're just like, oh, okay, like I see it for what it is.
Yes.
And of course I have opinions and like things on this person and this topic, but that doesn't shape who I am.
Right.
Like I'm not going to look at my relationship based off of what they just shared and be like,
maybe
we should bring in. No. Like if that's
Yeah.
my truth, yes.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not going to be influenced because that's what someone's sharing at the moment.
Totally. And with that also goes into the whole conversation of plant medicines. Because I've done ayahuasca multiple times. You've done ayahuasca multiple times. But then you see the pattern of the people who are like always doing the medicine, always doing the things, and like constant, And just like the whole Aubrey and Vailana situation where like the medicine told them to do this, or it was like, the thing told them. I have totally seen people in my life who were constantly in medicine journeys doing Aya and sitting with certain things. They were like, in order for this to happen in my life, I need to move here. And then they move there and it's like that thing didn't even happen.
Yeah.
Or, and so it could distort you, because when you are in those experiences, it's so real.
It is.
When you're in that experience, it's so real. But that's why you need, like, I sat with Aya twice, and it's been years since I sat with it last. And I don't feel like I need to sit with it again anytime soon. I'm not saying I never will, because I still love and believe in the power of the divinity in these plant spirits, like they have their own medicine and magic to them. But it's not like I need to keep doing it so I can stay in the clarity of that thing.
Yeah.
It's okay, this is what I learned, this is what I experienced, and now I'm going to go live my life for years.
Yes.
And if and when I feel like I need to come back to it, because I may never feel like I need to come back to it. It might have just been something that I wanted to explore. And maybe it was definitely fucking influenced by the goddamn collective.
Yeah.
You know,
it was a thing for a while.
Not even maybe. I was inspired by the collective, because if I hadn't have heard of it and everybody else's experience with it, I wouldn't even have wanted done it.
Yeah.
But I did hear about ayahuasca years, way before it was mainstream, before Vakai was even born, when the London Real podcast was like this, like barely beginning.
Yeah.
And somebody went on there and shared a story, and then I was like, what is that? I started looking it up and stuff like that. So again, not taking away from the plant medicines. They're amazing. They're powerful. They do their thing. And you can't live from the voice of the medicine all the time. You have to listen to the voice of you.
Yes. Well, that's what people do. They are like, I'm in a creative slump. Let me take mushrooms. I am depressed. Let me go do plant medicine. I don't know. They are not able to self-source their own answers, and they feel
even
like
just smoking weed
or yeah,
you know,
whatever
different things.
it is. Like they use that anchor to help them move through whatever it is, even alcohol.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so with the plant medicine, I think.
Or the hape.
Or the hape is spiritual cocaine.
Bro, it's spiritual cocaine.
It's spiritual cocaine. Everyone is sniffing it and snorting it.
I don't care how controversial this gets.
Honestly,
this is going to be a real, because hape is the spiritual cocaine.
It's spiritual cocaine.
Dude.
Just because you hold it right here and then
you
snort
pray
it,
with it
does not mean it's spiritual.
Dude, yes.
Literally, I have seen like fuckery with the hape. And I'm like, if you're doing it every day, it is no
all
longer.
Throughout the day. All throughout the day.
Listen, I'm not going to lie. I like hape.
I fucking don't. I tried it once, never again. So.
I really, really do like it, but I do it once or twice a year. It's just like as a little like.
It's just like me and mushrooms.
It's just a
I
little.
love mushrooms, but I don't do them all the time.
Tiny little thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I could not be snorting this shit all day.
All day.
All day.
Bruh. Okay.
We made our point.
So with that being said,
don't rely on these external things.
Yeah, but a step further.
Put down the hape.
Put down the hape.
Next episode, I'm bringing hape.
No, but truthfully, this goes into the conversation of paying attention to the people that you are following, that you are, choosing to pay and buy into when it comes to certain things, because like the big thing in here, discernment.
Yeah.
As a consumer, discernment.
Always.
As the leader, integrity.
Bring integrity back. To
make integrity
great again. Please. We were talking about that too at my house, where I was like, I'm getting icked out by a lot of different leaders out there because the integrity is just
not there.
And it's hard when you know the person.
Yeah.
Because you're like, come on.
I know.
Come on.
I know.
But the more we sharpen our discernment and our inner knowing, I'm able to look at someone and just say, that's not someone I want to learn from.
Right.
That's not someone's session I want to go to.
Right.
Immediately.
Yes.
And then whenever I do it, I'm like, oh no, I should have listened to myself.
Soul check-in, man. Soul check-in, because everybody's doing a surface check-in.
Yes.
Oh, do they have the money? Do they have the career? Do they have the accolades? Do they have the followers? Like, those are the surface level check-ins. But like a good soul check-in when it comes to who you are allowing to guide you, to influence you, to coach you, to somebody that you're going to be paying potentially.
Yeah.
Very, very important. And for the leaders and for the teachers and the coaches and the healers, stand 10 toes down, man. If you are in this industry for the right reasons, really let that be a reflection in the choices that you are making in your personal life behind the scenes when nobody's watching.
Yes.
Really be solid. And you know what? Like, for those of us, I'm here to play the long game. Yeah. Bro, can you believe it? It's almost been a decade since I threw my first event.
That's wild.
A decade? I'm like, I'm here. I'm committed. I'm in it to win it. And I'm playing the long game.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love about the long game is that all will be revealed in the long game.
Yes.
All will be revealed.
Yes.
It's like if you're constantly getting canceled, if you're constantly in some sort of drama or whatever, you know, you're constantly burning bridges or whatever, the long game will reveal people's patterns.
Patterns reveal themselves.
Yes. And so for me, I'm here to play the long game, baby.
Yeah.
And sure, again, we're all human. Things aren't going to be perfect. But in my long game, you're going to see the pattern of the quality and the standard that I have committed to. Yes. And not for anybody else but myself. Fortunately, everybody else just gets to reap the benefits of the standard that I have set for myself. Yeah. But if you are wanting to play the long game in this industry, remember that, because the internet ain't going away. Your history of what you've done throughout the years, it's always going to be there. Yeah. At this point, like the what do they call it? Something imprint, digital imprint is here to stay.
Dude, the other day I went through my Instagram and went to my old posts, and I started like deleting and archiving stuff. It wasn't even bad. It was just like those old Instagram pictures. And I'm like, ew, who are you? I got icked out by myself. I was like, can you see the way that you like spoke and the way that you did these things?
Dude, shout out to the growth though.
And back then I thought I was I was all promoting this like natural deodorant, which I still use, by the way.
Which one is it?
Piper Y. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. I saw them on Shark Tank years ago. Oh. The best. But I was like promoting videos, and like it was just an innocent video. Yeah. But I'm like, you have vastly improved in your life and your speaking skills. Yeah. But I was like, oh my gosh, I do not want these pictures out there. Like, oh my gosh. But
shout out to the evolution.
I know. And you have to start somewhere. So
yeah,
if
of course.
If you're like a new, leader out there or whatever, I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, great, this new standard, right, that I have to adhere to.
Well, the standard it's a personal standard. It's not necessarily how you are being. It's like it's a standard within your own soul. Yes. Of like, I'm a good person with good intentions. My goal is to be honest. My goal is to move with integrity. You know what I mean? My goal is to not lose myself in the process. It's like, I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to be a student. Yes. It doesn't have to be perfect or like, everybody works their way up to a certain, it's the intention.
It's the intention and the integrity behind it all. Like, check in and ask yourself, like, what's your definition of integrity? Because all of us have a different definition of it. But for me, I feel like integrity sets the standard for everything. That's what do you do when no one's looking? Right. How do you handle conflict? How do you handle challenges? How do you speak about people? How do you show up for other people? How do you show up for yourself? And like, my radar is if I can literally lay my head down at night, and even if I'm upset with the situation, I know like I did the absolute best thing within my integrity, I'm good. Right. If there's any of that, I like call the person. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I didn't like mean to offend you or whatever.
You did that to me one time.
I always do. Yeah. Because it's like I can pick up on that, and it's like, okay, this is important to me that I can go to bed and lay my head down and not feel some type of way, you know? And so I just think that's a really good like exercise for people to take, like tap in with yourself. What are your values as a human, as a leader, as anyone? And what does integrity mean for you? And when you witness integrity with other people, your boss, your family, whoever, like, what are those qualities? Right. Because usually those qualities are within you as well.
Totally. And I'm glad you said, within your boss and within your family, because some people, they take what we're saying and they only apply it to business. Yes. They only apply it to entrepreneurship. But the true embodiment of it is when you're applying it to the promises that you keep to yourself, the promises that you keep to your children, the way that you treat the people at the grocery store. Yes. Like this, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of being. Yes. It's not just, okay, I want to show up with integrity in my business, but then when it comes to like my kid, I always tell them I'm going to do something and then I don't. Right. Or, so it's apply that everywhere. That's why going back to, it's the character development.
Yeah.
Not just the professional development. This is who you are, boo.
Mm-hmm.
Not just, you know, the brand. It's you every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we really wanted to dive into this because we see it. We're in this industry. We've been in it for a while now, and we're observing all of these things. And in the process, I'm grateful. You know, I'm actually grateful that even like the Aubrey Marcus thing came out, because sometimes those things are so confronting and they're so triggering that it solidifies what somebody wants to be in a good way. Mm-hmm. Somebody's like, you know what, that's messy, or that's this, or whatever their judgment is of it. I want to show up like this. Like, I never want to do this.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Sometimes those things shake you up so much, or they shake up the collective so much that the outcome ends up being a certain level of self-mastery and refinery due to the inspiration of the fuckery. Yeah.
Yes, you're like, that's exactly what I don't want to do.
Yeah, like, fuckery can be very inspiring.
True that.
So shout out to being inspired by the fuckery.
Yes.
Lead with integrity. Allow yourself to be led through the eyes and the spirit of discernment.
Yes.
Sending you so much love on your journey. Casey and I, we're here with you. We're all trying to figure it out all at the same time, and developing ourselves in the process as we continue forward. So thank you for listening to this conversation. We will be back next week with another epic episode.
Yes.
We love you guys. Until then.
Bye.
Bye.